Hi there, in this video, we'll be going over how to write an offer, a purchase agreement. On the very first page, we'll be reviewing the agency disclosure. The agency disclosure is information for you to know for my roles and responsibilities as your agent. It's my fiduciary responsibility to take care of you. It's my fiduciary responsibility to provide you with any and all information that the listing agent and seller provides about the property. Not only will I be providing you information, I'll also be providing you guidance and how to craft an offer. So you'll see some areas highlighted that are most important. I'm scrolling down to the meat of the offer, which is at the very top, it says the RPA, California Residential Purchase Agreement. When we write an offer, anything that is in blue are items that I fill in. So anything that's in black is going to be the standard for the California Association of Realtors documents. So again, this one is going to be a sample RPA, so I've highlighted the areas that we'll need to fill in. Scrolling down, we have here this bulk area. We'll be negotiating the purchase price. Looking over comparables that have sold in the area will give us the best indicator of how to frame our offer. Again, if we're the only offer in hand, or if we are competing against other offers, we'll be discussing what purchase price would best fit for us to present an offer that's strong. Next, we have a close of escrow. Standard is typically 30 days. However, if we do want to write a strong offer, offers written that can close within 21 days are commonly seen. Again, it dependent on what property we're writing on, and also it kind of depends if the house is vacant, if nobody's living there, or if the seller is currently living there. Usually vacant homes, shorter escrows are desirable, and usually homes that have a owner or tenant in there prefer longer escrows. Expiration of the offer, item 3C. It's typically standard for 3 calendar days for a seller to review our offer. We can shorten it, but 3 days is the most common. Initial deposit, as you can see right here. That's called your earnest money deposit, your EMD. If your offer gets accepted, it is required to have a EMD, initial deposit, of 1% of your purchase price to hold the property. The EMD is absolutely refundable within our contingency period. So let's just say you're purchasing a $500,000 home. Offer gets accepted. Within 3 business days, we'll need to have either wired or with a cashier check $5,000 to hold the property. If at any time within your inspection contingency, if you decide to change your mind and would like to no longer purchase this home, you absolutely can, and you are absolutely within your right to get your earnest money deposit back. Increased deposit, that's not often seen, so I would disregard. Next item, your loan amount. This is an item that we'll be discussing with your lender. So we'll be discussing this prior to writing an offer. There are different types of offers as seen here. There's FHA, VA, conventional, other sellers financing as well. Once we talk with your lender, we'll go ahead and put a loan amount that you feel most comfortable with. And then scrolling down, if this is going to be a primary residence, which is most common, or if you're going to be using it as an investment property. Again, we'll discuss these items and make sure we're writing the offer that best represents you. And then at the bottom, it will auto-populate on how much we'll need for a down payment to go ahead and show you what the grand purchase price would be. The next page are some major items. Seller credit. We'll discuss this further in detail, but if we were asking for credit from the seller, we'd put that there. Seller credit is basically asking a seller for cash back towards close of escrow. Buyer compensation, will be asking the seller to pay for my compensation to represent you. Majority of the offers that are written in California is customarily seen that the seller provides that compensation because a buyer is coming in with a large down payment, money for closing costs. So it's typically seen that the seller pays for the buyer's representation. There are times when a seller does not provide compensation, but of course anything on here is negotiable. And then we'll see here the verification of funds and a down payment. We'll just need, if you are getting a loan, we'll just need a bank statement or an institution with your legal name, and then the bank institution name, and then the minimum amount that we'll need shown will just be the earnest money deposit to show, hey, showing good faith, we do have that money if we want to put a deposit down if this offer gets accepted. Scrolling. Pre-approval letter, again, we'll be discussing that with your loan officer. Now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty, which is going to be your contingencies. We have your loan contingency, appraisal, and then investigation contingency. Loan contingency would just be, it's standard for 17 days. Most lenders would be able to communicate with me how long it would take for your loan and a property appraisal to get done. If we need our offer to be stronger, a lender may say, hey, we can get the loan contingency and an appraisal done in perhaps 15 or 12 days. Again, depending on the property, we can discuss that with your lender when we get close to writing an offer. Investigation of the property. This is going to be an out-of-pocket expense for a buyer. This is the available time that a buyer can hire a vendor of choice for a home inspector, pest, roof, sewer, HVAC inspector to investigate the home and all the appliances that are in the property to ensure the home is in the condition that it's acceptable for moving forward and purchasing this home. During the investigation of the property, a lot of times buyers like to bring family members to re-show the property, to get a second look, to make sure this home is the home that you'd like. Because if you come back into the property after we have our offer accepted and you no longer feel like this is your home or it's a property you want to pursue, within the 17 days that we have here, we can go ahead and cancel the offer if needed and get your earnest money deposit back. Then scrolling down to insurance, reviewing seller documents, looking over a preliminary report. These items we'll be working on during escrow, making sure you get an insurance quote that you feel most comfortable with. The title and escrow company will be will be providing and reviewing documents and providing for your disclosure to review everything you need to know about this property. That would include, for example, if it's a property, like being in California, everywhere is a fire. There has to be a fire disclosure. So you'll get information for the property being in a fire zone, or if you happen to be in a flood zone, you'll get information from the title and escrow company that discloses that. Scrolling down, time of possession, that would be the day that we record and we are on record. It indicates what time you'd be able to receive keys. If there's any tenants in the property, it kind of indicates as well down below on when tenants need to vacate. These items are more so seller responsibilities, but another big item is going to be the items included and excluded from the property. When we're viewing a property, it is very important to be examining what appliances you see in the home. Stove, refrigerator, washer, dryer, dishwasher, microwave, all these items. Sometimes if we see a home that is vacant and there's no refrigerator, we have to make sure we do not select a refrigerator. But however, perhaps we see a home that you want to put an offer in on, but you want to ask for the refrigerator. We need to make sure we're asking here that we'd want to have the refrigerator with our offer. Just as much as it is important to be asking for items like the refrigerator, Ring doorbell, plants, and so forth, we need to be mindful of potentially what items we want to exclude from the purchase. It's often seen in more rural properties like in Alta Vista or perhaps parts of Auburn, where maybe there are vehicles or trailers on a property, they're abandoned. If that was the case, I would recommend when we write an offer to maybe exclude an abandoned car or a trailer that's on a property. Because if we don't exclude it after close of escrow, a seller leaving it there would now become your responsibility. But again, once we walk through the property, we'll be able to identify those things. It's just good to keep in mind visually seeing what items you want to include and not include. Scrolling down, allocation of closing costs. So we have a natural hazard report, typically $99, customarily seen to be paid by the seller. Even though the allocation of closing costs are all negotiable, I'll just review what's commonly seen for buyers and sellers to pay and to split. So we do ask for the seller to make sure the house has smoke alarms and CO detectors and the water heater is braced. We don't need any government point inspections and reports. That's if it was like a new construction home where we needed to make sure the house was up to code of today's current permitting, but it's not required. So we leave that one omitted. Fees, depending on if it's Sacramento County, Placer, Yolo, escrow fees are customly seen split 50-50 between the buyer and seller. Title insurance is to ensure the property is, when it's sold, it's given to you free and clear of any potential liens or that's the biggest thing, liens on the property. For example, sometimes if there's solar on the property, the title company would want to make sure that either the solar is being paid off, could be transferred to the buyer, or it's owned on the property. A title insurance, just to really verify what is coming with the property and to make sure there's no cloud on title as well. And also just to ensure to make sure the seller's name that's on the paper is the actual seller. Again, it not decreases. The purpose of title insurance is to make sure there is no fraud on the property. Then you scroll down to county, city transfer fees. So Placer doesn't have any city transfer fees, but Sacramento does have county and city transfer fees. So I would say for the allocation of closing costs, it's about 1 to 2% of the purchase price. Then the next item is a home warranty. It's not required on the sale of a home, but sometimes buyers like to get a home warranty and they like to purchase a home warranty. I've seen it be from $700 to $2,000 to cover perhaps any repair that may or may not need to be done for appliances like a dishwasher, microwave, washer, dryer, pool equipment, HVAC. Again, it's an optional item. It's not something that needs to be incorporated into the purchase of a home, but it's an option to have. Those are the main key parts. The following documents after these are descriptions of these items further in depth. So if you wanted more information, let's say about paragraph A, B, and C, about the purchase price, close of escrow, expiration of offer, you can scroll down and find the information down below. So it talks about the verification of funds, the loans, what an all-cash offer is, breaks things down into layman terms. The document itself, I think it is 27 pages. So it'll be scrolling all the way at the bottom. Again, you'll be getting disclosures. You'll also be getting information about homeowners insurance, about wire fraud, the whole 9 yards. But the most important items are going to be the items that are highlighted. So as we're reviewing properties, we'll want to keep in mind of purchase price, things that are included in the home, that are attached to the home, things you want to exclude from the home. And we're looking forward to writing a great offer.